Alfred and Jennet. By Robert Bloomfield. Yes, let me tell of Jennet, my last child. In her the charms of all the rest ran wild, and sprouted as they pleased. Still by my side, I own she was my favourite, was my pride, since first she laboured round my neck to twine, or clasped both lil hands in one of mine, and when the season broke, I've seen her bring lapfuls of flowers, and then the girl would sing whole songs, and halves, and bits, oh, with such glee. If playmates found a favourite, it was she. Her lively spirit lifted her to joy. To distance in the race a clumsy boy would raise the flush of conquest in her eye, and all was dance, and laugh, and liberty. Yet not hard-hearted, take me right, I beg, the veriest romp that ever wagged a leg was Jennet. But when pity soothed her mind, prompt with her tears, and delicately kind. The half-fledged nestling, rabbit, mouse, or dove, by turns engaged her cares and infant love, and many a one, at the last doubtful strife, warmed in her bosom, started into life. At 13 she was all that heaven could send, my nurse, my faithful clerk, my lively friend. Last at my pillow when I sunk to sleep, first on my threshold soon as day could peep, I heard her happy to her heart's desire, with clanking pattens, and a roaring fire. Then, having store of new-laid eggs to spare, she filled her basket with the simple fare, and weekly trudged. I think I see her still, to sell them at yon house upon the hill. Oft have I watched her as she strolled along, heard the gate bang, and heard her morning song, and, as my warm ungoverned feelings rose, said to myself, Heaven bless her. There she goes. Long would she tarry, and then dancing home, tell how the lady bade her oftener come, and bade her talk and laugh without control. For Jennet's voice was music to the soul, my tale shall prove it. For there dwelt a son, an only child, and where there is but one, indulgence like a mildew reigns, from whence mischief may follow if that child wants sense. But Alfred was a youth of noble mind, with ardent passions, and with taste refined. All that could please still courted heart and hand, music, joy, peace, and wealth, at his command. Wealth, which his widowed mother deemed his own. Except the poor, she lived for him alone. Yet would she weep by stealth when he was near, but checked all sighs to spare his wounded ear. For from his cradle he had never seen soul-cheering sunbeams, or wild nature's green. But all life's blessings sent her not in sight. For Providence, that dealt him one long night, had given, in pity to the blooming boy, feelings more exquisitely tuned to joy. Fond to excess was he of all that grew. The morning blossom sprinkled o'er with dew, across his path, as if in playful freak, would dash his brow, and weep upon his cheek. Each varying leaf that brushed where'er he came, pressed to his rosy lip he called by name. He grasped the saplings, measured every bough, inhaled the fragrance that the spring months throw profusely round, till his young heart confessed that all was beauty, and himself was blessed. Yet when he traced the wide extended plain, or clear brookside, he felt a transient pain, the keen regret of goodness, void of pride, to think he could not roam without a guide. Who, guess ye, knew these scenes of home delight better than Jennet, blessed with health and sight? Whene'er she came, he from his sports would slide, and catch her wild laugh, listening by her side, mount to the telltale clock with ardent spring, and feel the passing hour, then fondly cling to Jennet's arm, and tell how sweet the breath of bright May mornings on the open heath. Then off they started, rambling far and wide, like Cupid with a wood nymph by his side. Thus months and months rolled on, the summer passed, and the long darkness, and the winter blast, severed the pair. No flowery fields to roam, poor Alfred sought his music and his home. What wonder then if inwardly he pined? The anxious mother marked her stripling's mind gloomy and sad, yet striving to be gay as the long tedious evenings passed away, 'twas her delight fresh spirits to supply. My girl was sent for, just for company. A tender governess my daughter found, her temper placid, her instruction sound. Plain were her precepts, full of strength, their power was founded on the practice of the hour. Theirs were the happy nights to peace resigned, with ample means to cheer unbended mind. The sacred history, or the volumes fraught with tenderest sympathy, or towering thought, the laughter-stirring tale, the moral lay, all that brings dawning reason into day. There Jennet learned by maps, through every land to travel, and to name them at command, would tell how great their strength, their bounds how far, and show where Uncle Charles was in the war. The globe she managed with a timid hand, told which was ocean, which was solid land, and said, whate'er their different climates bore, all still rolled round, though that I knew before. Thus grown familiar, and at perfect ease, what could be Jennet's duty but to please? Yet hitherto she kept, scarce knowing why, one powerful charm reserved, and still was shy. When Alfred from his grand piano drew those heavenly sounds that seemed forever new, she sat as if to sing would be a crime, and only gazed with joy, and nodded time. Till one snug evening, I myself was there, the whispering lad inquired, behind my chair, Bowman, can Jennet sing? At home, said I, she sings from morn till night, and seems to fly, from tune to tune, the sad, the wild, the merry, and molds her lip to suit them like a cherry. She learned them here. Oh ho, said he, oh ho, and rubbed his hands, and stroked his forehead, so. Then down he sat, sought out a tender strain, sung the first words, then struck the chords again. Come, Jennet, help me, you must know this song, which I have sung, and you have heard so long. I marked the palpitation of her heart, yet she complied, and strove to take a part, but faint and fluttering, swelling by degrees, ere self-composure gave that perfect ease, the soul of song. Then, with triumphant glee, resting her idle work upon her knee, her little tongue soon filled the room around with such a voluble and magic sound, that, spite of all her pains to persevere, she stopped to sigh, and wipe a starting tear, then roused herself for faults to make amends. While Alfred trembled to his fingers' ends. But when this storm of feeling sunk to rest, Jennet, resuming, sung her very best, and on the ear, with many a dying fall, she poured th enchanting harp of Tara's Hall. Still Alfred hid his raptures from her view, still touched the keys, those raptures to renew, and led her on to that sweet pastoral air, the Highland laddie with the yellow hair. She caught the sound, and with the utmost ease bade nature's music triumph, sure to please. Such truth, such warmth, such tenderness expressed, that my old heart was dancing in my breast. Up sprung the youth, oh Jennet, where's your hand? There's not another girl in all the land, if she could bring me empires, bring me sight, could give me such unspeakable delight. You little baggage. Not to tell before, that you could sing. Mind, you go home no more. Thus I have seen her from my own fireside attain the utmost summit of her pride. For, from that singing hour, as time rolled round, at the great house my Jennet might be found, and, while I watched her progress with delight, she had a father's blessing every night, and grew in knowledge at that moral school till I began to guess myself a fool. Music. Why, she could play as well as he. At least I thought so, but we'll let that be. She read the poets, grave and light, by turns, and talked of Cowper's task, and Robin Burns. Nay, read without a book, as I may say, as much as some could within half a day. 'Twas thus I found they passed their happy time, in all their walks, when nature in her prime spread forth her sense and hues, and whispered love and joy to every bird in every grove. And though their colors could not meet his eye, she plucked him flowers, then talked of poetry. Once on a sunbright morning, 'twas in June, I felt my spirits and my hopes in tune, and idly rambled forth, as if to explore the little valley just before my door. Down by yon dark green oak I found a seat beneath the clustering thorns, a snug retreat for poets, as I deemed, who often prize such holes and corners far from human eyes. I marked young Alfred, led by Jennet, stray just to the spot, both chatting on their way. They came behind me, I was still unseen. He was the elder, Jennet was 16. My heart misgave me, lest I should be deemed a prying listener, never much esteemed, but this fear soon subsided, and I said, I'll hear this blind lad and my little maid. That instant down she plucked a woodbine wreath, the loose leaves rattled on my head beneath. This was for Alfred, which he seized with joy. Oh, thank you, Jennet, said the generous boy. Much was there talk, which many a theme supplied, as down they sat, for every blade was dried. I would have skulked away, but dare not move. Besides, thought I, they will not talk of love. But I was wrong, for Alfred, with a sigh, a little tremulous, a little shy, but, with the tenderest accents, asked his guide a question which might touch both love and pride. This morning, Jennet, why did you delay, and talk to that strange clown upon your way, our homespun gardener? How can you bear his screech owl tones upon your perfect ear? I cannot like that man, yet know not why. He's surely quite as old again as I. He's ignorant, and cannot be your choice, and ugly too, I'm certain, by his voice. Besides, he called you pretty. Well, what then? I cannot hide my face from all the men. Alfred, indeed, you are deceived. He never spoke a word that I believed. Nay, can he think that I would leave a home, full of enjoyment, present, and to come, while your dear mother's favors daily prove, how sweet the bonds of gratitude and love? No. While beneath her roof I shall remain, I'll never vex you, never give you pain. Enough, my life, he cried, and up they sprung. By heaven, I almost wished that I was young. It was a dainty sight to see them pass, light as the July fawns upon the grass, pure as the breath of spring when forth it spreads, love in their hearts, and sunshine on their heads. Next day I felt what I was bound to do, to weigh the adventure well, and tell it too. For Alfred's mother must not be beguiled, he was her earthly hope, her only child. I had no wish, no right to pass it by, it might bring grief, perhaps calamity. She was the judge, and she alone should know whether to check the flame or let it grow. I went with fluttering heart, and moistened eye, but strong in truth, and armed for her reply. Well, Master Bowman, why that serious face? Exclaimed the lovely dame, with such a grace, that had I knelt before her, I had been not quite the simplest votary ever seen. I told my tale, and urged that well-known truth, that the soft passion in the bloom of youth starts into power, and leads unconscious heart a chase where reason takes but little part. Nothing was more in nature, or more pure, and from their habits nothing was more sure. Whether the lady blushed from pride or joy, I could but guess. At length she said, "My boy dropped not a syllable of this to me. What was I doing, that I could not see? Through all the anxious hours that I have known, his welfare still was dearer than my own. How have I mourned o'er his unhappy fate? Blind as he is, the heir to my estate. I now might break his heart, and Jennet's too. What must I, Bowman, or what can I do?" "Do, madam," said I, boldly, "if you trace impending degradation or disgrace in this attachment, let us not delay. Send my girl home, and check it while you may." "I will," she said, but the next moment's sight, parental love was struggling hard with pride. I left her thus, deep musing, and soon found my daughter, for I traced her by the sound of Alfred's flageolet. No cares had they, but in the garden bower spent half the day. By starts he sung, then wildest trillings made, to mock a piping blackbird in the glade. I turned a corner and approached the pair. My little rogue had roses in her hair. She whipped them out, and with a downcast look, conquered a laugh by poring on her book. My object was to talk with her aside, but at the sight my resolution died. They looked so happy in their blameless glee, that, as I found them, I e'en let them be. Though Jennet promised a few social hours midst her old friends, my poultry, and my flowers. She came, but not till fatal news had wrung her heart through sleepless hours, and chained her tongue. She came, but with a look that gave me pain, for, though bright sunbeams sparkled after rain, though every brood came round, half run, half fly, I knew her anguish by her altered eye, and strove, with all my power, where'er she came, to soothe her grief, yet gave it not a name. At length a few sad bitter tears she shed, and on both hands reclined her aching head. 'Twas then my time the conqueror to prove. I summoned all my rhetoric, all my love. "Jennet, you must not think to pass through life, without its sorrows, and without its strife. Good, dutiful, and worthy, as you are, you must have griefs, and you must learn to bear." Thus I went on, trite moral truths to string, all chaff, mere chaff, where love has spread his wing. She cared not, listened not, nor seemed to know what was my aim, but wiped her burning brow, where sat more eloquence and living power than language could embody in an hour. With softened tone I mentioned Alfred's name, his wealth, our poverty, and that sad blame which would have weighed me down, had I not told the secret which I dare not keep for gold, of Alfred's love, o'erheard the other morn, the gardener, and the woodbine, and the thorn, and added, "Though the lady sends you home, you are but young, child, and a day may come." "She has not sent me home," the girl replied, and rose with sobs of passion from my side. "She has not sent me home, dear father, no. She gives me leave to tarry or to go. She has not blamed me, yet she weeps no less, and every tear but adds to my distress. I am the cause, thus all that she has done, will bring the death or misery of her son. Jealous he might be, could he but have seen, how other lads approach where I have been. But this man's voice offends his very soul, that strange antipathy brooks no control. And should I leave him now, or seem unkind, the thought would surely wreck his noble mind. To leave him thus, and in his utmost need. Poor Alfred! Then you will be blind indeed. I will not leave him. Nay, child, do not rave. What, would you be his menial, be his slave?" "Yes," she exclaimed, and wiped each streaming eye. "Yes, be his slave, and serve him till I die. He is too just to act the tyrant's part, he's truth itself. Oh how my burthened heart sighed for relief." Soon that relief was found. Without one word we traced the meadow round, her feverish hand in mine, and weighed the case, nor dared to look each other in the face. Till, with a sudden stop, as if from fear, I roused her sinking spirit. "Who comes here?" Down the green slope before us, glowing warm, came Alfred, tugging at his mother's arm. Willing she seemed, but he still led the way. She had not walked so fast for many a day. His hand was lifted, and his brow was bare, for now no clustering ringlets wanted there. He threw them back in anger and in spleen, and shouted, "Jennet, o'er the daisied green." Boyish impatience strove with manly grace in every line and feature of his face. His claim appeared resistless as his choice, and when he caught the sound of Jennet's voice, and when with spotless soul he clasped the maid, my heart exulted while my breath was stayed. "Jennet, we must not part. Return again. What have I done to merit all this pain? Dear mother, share my fortune with the poor. Jennet is mine, and shall be. Say no more. Bowman, you know not what a friend I'll be. Give me your daughter, Bowman, give her me. Jennet, what will my days be if you go? A dreary darkness, and a life of woe. My dearest love, come home, and do not cry. You are my daylight, Jennet, I shall die." To such appeals all prompt replies are cold, and stately prudence snaps her cobweb hold. Had the good widow tried, or wished to speak, This was a bond she could not, dared not break. Their hearts, you never saw their likeness, never. Were joined, indissolubly joined forever. Why need I tell how soon our tears were dried? How Jennet blushed, how Alfred with a stride bore off his prize, and fancied every charm, and clipped against his ribs her trembling arm. How mute we seniors stood, our power all gone. Completely conquered, love the day had won, and the young vagrant triumphed in our plight, and shook his roguish plumes, and laughed outright. Yet, by my life and hopes, I would not part with this sweet recollection from my heart. I would not now forget that tender scene to wear a crown, or make my girl a queen. Why need be told how passed the months along, how sped the summer's walk, the winter's song, how the foiled suitor all his hopes gave up, how Providence with rapture filled their cup? No dark regrets, no tragic scenes to prove, the gardener was too old to die for love. 1,000 incidents I cast aside to tell but one. I gave away the bride, gave the dear youth what kings could not have given, then blessed them both, and put my trust in heaven. There the old neighbors laughed the night away, who talk of Jennet's wedding to this day. And could you but have seen the modest grace, the half-hid smiles that played in Jennet's face, or marked the bridegroom's bounding heart o'erflow, you might have wept for joy, as I could now. I speak from memory of days long past, though 'tis a father's tale, I've done at last. Here rest thee, muse, review the scene where thou with me from peep of dawn hast been. We did not promise that this motley throng should every one supply a vote of song, nor every tenant. Yet thou hast been kind, for untold tales must still remain behind, which might o'er listening patience still prevail. Did fancy waver not, nor daylight fail. The soldier's wife, her toils, his battles o'er, love in a shower, the rivalet's sudden roar. Then, lines to aggravation, form the close, parent of murders, and the worst of woes. But while the changeful hours of daylight flew, some homeward looked, and talked of evening dew. Some watched the sun's decline, and strolled around, some wished another dance, and partners found. When in an instant every eye was drawn to one bright object on the upper lawn, a fair procession from the mansion came, unknown its purport, and unknown its aim. No gazer could refrain, no tongue could cease, it seemed an embassy of love and peace. Nearer and nearer. Still approached the train, age in the van transformed to youth again. Sir Ambrose gazed, and scarce believed his eyes. 'Twas magic, memory, love, and blank surprise, for there his venerable lady wore the very dress which, 60 years before, had sparkled on her sunshine bridal morn, had sparkled, aye, beneath this very thorn. Her hair was snowy white, o'er which was seen, emblem of what her bridal cheeks had been, a twin red rose. No other ornament had pride suggested, or false feeling lent. She came to grace the triumph of her lord, and pay him honors at his festive board. 9 ruddy lasses followed where she stepped. White were their virgin robes, that lightly swept the downy grass. In every laughing eye Cupid had skulked, and written, victory. What heart on earth its homage could refuse? Each tripped, unconsciously, a blushing muse. A slender chaplet of fresh blossoms bound their clustering ringlets in a magic round. And, as they slowly moved across the green, each in her beauty seemed a May-Day queen. The first a wreath bore in her outstretched hand, the rest a single rose upon a wand. Their steps were measured to that grassy throne where, watching them, Sir Ambrose sat alone. They stopped, when she, the foremost of the row, curtsied, and placed the wreath upon his brow. The rest, in order pacing by his bower, in the looped wreath left each her single flower, then stood aside. What broke the scene's repose? The whole assembly clapped their hands and rose. The muses charmed them as they formed a ring, and looked the very life and soul of spring. But still the white-haired dame they viewed with pride, her love so perfect, and her truth so tried. Oh, sweet it is to hear, to see, to name, unquenched affection in the palsied frame, to think upon the boundless raptures past, and love, triumphant, conquering to the last. Silenced by feeling, vanquished by his tears, the host sprung up, nor felt the weight of years. Yet utterance found not, though in virtue's cause, but acclamations filled up nature's pause, till, by one last and vigorous essay, his tide of feeling rolled itself away. The language of delight its bondage broke, and many a warm heart blessed him as he spoke. Neighbors and friends, by long experience proved, pardon this weakness. I was too much moved. My dame, you see, can youth and age ensnare, in vain I strove, 'twas more than I could bear, yet hear me, though the tyrant passions strive. The words of truth, like leading stars, survive. I thank you all, but will accomplish more. Your verses shall not die as heretofore. Your local tales shall not be thrown away, nor war remain the theme of every lay. Ours is an humbler task, that may release the high-wrought soul, and mold it into peace. These pastoral notes some victor's ear may fill, breathed amidst blossoms, where the drum is still. I purpose then to send them forth to try the public patience, or its apathy. The world shall see them. Why should I refrain? 'Tis all the produce of my own domain. Farewell. he said, then took his lady's arm, on his shrunk hand her starting tears fell warm, again he turned to view the happy crowd, and cried, good night, good night, good night, aloud, health to you all. For see, the evening closes, then march to rest, beneath his crown of roses. Happy old man! With feelings such as these, the seasons all can charm, and trifles please. An instantaneous shout re-echoed round, 'twas wine and gratitude inspired the sound. Some joyous souls resumed the dance again, the aged loitered o'er the homeward plain, and scattered lovers rambled through the park, and breathed their vows of honor in the dark. Others a festal harmony preferred, still round the thorn the jovial song was heard. Dance, rhymes, and fame, they scorned such things as these, but dran the mouldy barrel to its lees, as if 'twere worse than shame to want repose. Nor was the lawn clear till the moon arose, and on each turret poured a brilliant gleam of modest light, that trembled on the stream. The owl awoke, but dared not yet complain, and banished silence reassumed her reign.